In the previous lecture, we also did the theme of the poem. The theme of the poem based on the struggle for a change. As in this poem, we know that there is a father who is struggling for change, and he calls upon the Africans to be aware of where they came from, where they are, and where they were supposed to be. So the father or the poet shows a sense of regret due to the fact that Africans are gradually losing their good values and identity. So this is a wake-up call that will invite all willing Africans to go back to embrace our good values. As if you could remember, the poet says that I want to unlearn all these muting things. Most of all, I want to relearn how to love. So the poet basically says that he wanted to unlearn all such things, all these mutes or silences, because he wanted to be real. If he smiles, he wants to smile genuinely. So he tells his son that he wants to get rid of this false laugh showing only the teeth. So the poet has also given a comparison of his laugh in the mirror to a snake's bare fangs, brings out the fact that the smile is artificial and might be dangerous. So the poet regrets his fake behavior and also expresses his desire to unlearn all those bad things and learn how to laugh sincerely. The next point that we did in under this heading of theme, that is the innocence of children. It is also a major theme in this poem, as it is stated that in this poem that the father or the poet wants to go back to. It is his childhood that he remembers throughout the poem, that he wanted to be the same as he used to be in the past. When things seemed to be real, when people were really sincere and their feelings for each other were genuine, based on sincerity. And there were no lying, there were no hypocrisy, or maybe it is only that the father is remembering his childhood through the very eyes of a child, when he was too young and he wanted to understand how people used to behave. So perhaps there was no such time when life was perfect. Perhaps it is only a misconception induced by nostalgia by the poet, and he does not care about, and as he says that I want to be what I used to be. So basically this poem is also based on the innocence of a children, as the poet looks back to his past and wanted to have the same feelings, wanted to have the same behavior as he used to have in the past. As this theme, as we are talking about the innocence of children, shows that how to laugh sincerely. Children do not fake anything. If they laugh, they really laugh genuinely. So the poet actually wanted, or the poet is repeating this phrase, like he wants to smile a genuine smile in this poem, once upon a time. So this theme, the innocence of children, is basically the poet repentance. That poet repeatedly goes back to his past because he wants to have the same feeling as he used to have in the past. The next point that we discussed under this theme, that is hypocrisy, or the hypocrite nature of the people in the modern society or in the modern era. Hypocrisy can simply be defined as a pretending to be, when you pretend to be what you are actually not. So throughout the poem, we see that the poet shows the highest level of hypocrisy, that how the Africans have inherited from the European culture, from the European traditions. So the current situation shows that there are people who show how happy they are, but inside they are not happy. And if they are smiling, they are not they are not giving smile genuinely, and they are completely hypocrite. They're outwardly goodbye or wishing you a nice departure, but deep in their heart, what they mean, as this point we have already discussed, good riddance. So they, when you are going to depart, they really meant that they are happy for get rid of you. So such utterances, such phrases, such clauses that the poet says that the people use based on the hypocrisy or the hypocrite nature. So this hypocrisy of the highest order that the poet has described in this poem As he says that I have also learned to say goodbye when I mean good riddance, to say glad to meet you without being glad, and to say it's been nice talking to you after being bored. So this point we have discussed in the poem, that is hypocrisy. The next point that we also discussed, which is the fourth point, compromise or culture alienation. As the poet shows that the Africans have compromised their culture in the favor of the new European culture or the Western culture. How they have compromised, like the good values that the Africans used to have whenever they used to meet, they really met the people with their hearts. They used to shake hand with the people so that they could exchange love, and they were really affectionate in their behavior. But now the poet says that the custom, the traditions have all been changed, and how this Africans are no more genuine in their feelings, in their desires, in their wishes, and they wear many different face masks depending on the context, depending on the situations, depending on the occasions, but without feeling in the heart. As the poet says that I have learned to wear many faces like dresses, home face, office face, so on and so forth. So this is the cultural alienation, that how the Africans have adopted a new culture, that is Western culture, that they have adopted. Next point, that is point number 5, loss of dignity and pride. This poem centers entirely on the loss of the dignity and pride, that how the Africans have adopted the new culture, and they are now immune with that culture, with that civilization, with that traditions, that they do not even bother about the dignity and the pride they used to have when they were really in their own culture or their own traditions they were following. So Africans were sincere in what they do. So they had the true love, cooperation, and they had the honesty. But things began to fall apart after the introduction of European culture, European civilization, in which case we could see the dignity and the pride of the Africans were lost altogether. So, as in this poem, the poet says that once upon a time, son, they used to love with their hearts and laugh with their eyes, but now they only laugh with their teeth while their eyes, block cold eyes, search behind my shadow. So these were the points that we discussed in the previous lecture. This is basically the theme of the poem.